So a good template can be, hi, I'm so and so. I'm trying to go for a master's or a bachelor's in X. Hi, Siddharth. I see Prem here, strategy consulting in government, going for a full-time MBA at McDonald School of Business. Nice. Prem, is that a STEM program? You want to make sure.
Hey, Varun, thanks so much for doing this. It's a
Hi,
pleasure.
Kritika. It's nice to see you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you. We're just waiting for a few more folks to just join us in a couple of minutes.
Sure.
How is it in Toronto right now?
I'm in Windsor, Ontario, which is like on the border with Detroit. So the weather is beautiful right now. I mean, summertime is always a great time. We don't get very harsh winters. So if you are in the top of the US, or I mean the top belt, you are going to get some harsh winters, some years, and some
Mhm.
years is pleasant. So
Ann
this
Arbor
last year
is
wasn't as bad.
Ann Arbor is worst.
You were in,
Even
yeah,
though,
and Ann
even though in
Arbor,
this,
it is pretty good there. I
and
mean,
I
I
think,
think,
Mhm.
go ahead.
No, no, please go ahead. Yeah.
I think once you get used to like winter, maybe you start to enjoy some winter sports like skiing, snowboarding, or stuff like that. Also, once you have kids, right? Kids are always excited about snow and they want to make snowmans and stuff like that. So all of that kind of lends itself to you starting to enjoy the seasons a bit more.
Hmm.
Sometimes it can be brutal in terms of your habits because they have to change like in those 4 or 5 months, but overall, it can be enjoyable.
Yeah,
Asterisks.
I agree. So I think right from the weather to jobs and internships, I think we're going to have like a good transition now. I think we got enough quorum for today. And once again, Varun, thanks so much for doing this. It's a pleasure for you to come and give you and share your perspective about the jobs and how to land internships and jobs in the US. So we're going to start right now with jumping right into Varun, tell us about a little bit more about yourself and what you do, and definitely about Beyond Grad.
Awesome. Hey everybody, I'm Varun Nigandhi. I am a engineer and partner at NSIM, which is a automotive consulting company, and I'm also the founder of Beyond Grad, which is a online education business where I'm trying to fast track or accelerate the learning curve of immigrants like yourself who are coming in. Most of my mentees or students are people who are already here and working on OPT, H1B, waiting for their green cards. More and more students learn from whatever I share on LinkedIn over the past 18 months or so. I have just consistently written on the platform, which has enabled me to get like a decent following. And that's how Kritika and I met. She would write something, I would write something, and we just built a friendship via that. And she asked me to come here and share what I do with Beyond Grad, as well as just give you tips and tricks for you to get as ready as possible while being there in your journey of your education and then post education in the US. So excited to be here, and I'll share whatever we want to discuss today. Kritika has some items. I have like a short exercise, but I want this to be a lot more interactive. So you might see me asking you guys questions. Don't be shy. Put your answers in the chat. That's the best way for me to help you and for you to help yourself. So excited for this session.
Yeah, that's great, Varun, and I love your mission. and how you're also towards helping folks. And I should say that as soon as you land in the US, all the different types of OPT and CPT and all the visa things will be just normal. So you guys will be like talking that lingo soon. So do not worry. In case you're worried about like, I don't know anything right now, don't worry, don't worry. All of us are here to help you. And in fact, I know that some of you are just planning towards going, but some of you have already got your visas and everything else and are ready. It doesn't matter whichever stage you are in, you have to understand what you're getting into. And that's the way that we start. So, Varun, like, I have to be honest, a lot of people have been worried about the current geopolitical system in the US, the issues, and also about the job market and what is happening. So, can you throw a little bit more light on what is the job market looking like for international students in the US today?
There's no way to sugarcoat it. It's tough right now. The job market is extremely tough for few reasons, which is there was a balloon of companies hiring a lot of people during the post-pandemic era or during the pandemic because they wanted to hold on to assets, hold on to resources, make sure they are continuing to be competitive. And what has happened since then is obviously the interest rates have risen to kind of curb the economy a little bit. So companies are having a hard time being profitable. And one of the easiest ways to kind of uh, help shareholders continue to invest in your company is by being profitable. And the way they've done that is by laying people off. We will continue to see some layoffs, but I do want to bring perspective into this answer as well. So, like all of you guys, I came here to study in 2010, right on the heels of the 2008 financial crisis. It was tough. Like when I came here, there were seniors who had graduated 2 years back, were just trying to survive by doing a PhD or doing a capstone or a thesis in their masters that enabled them to kind of continue their education. But these cycles come and go. When the time is for you guys to kind of enter the job market, you never know, the cycle might be turning back on. You are maybe in that upswing where there are more jobs, you are landing more things. So I would ask every one of you to be aware of the current situations, be always open to how things are in the industry. At the same time, you should be filled with a lot of optimism because that's something that you would need as a student here in the US, which is to look at things realistically and optimistically and then just go for it.
Yeah, and I love your take on that, Varun. Like, I had to add that even when a sink is shipping, there must be somebody who's like trying to take the water and throw it out and keep the ship afloat. That's what
Mhm.
companies do. They might
Mhm.
let go or lay off people in certain areas that what we call as like more like load shedding, because it will be in areas that are not bringing them profits in business, but they will 100% hire people for other areas where they would need resources and others. And that's why keeping your eye on the skills that you need for going in is going to be super helpful. And Varun, like, come September 2024, majority of my clients are going to go in. And we know that first week or second week, we have the job fairs happening and your career fairs happening. Can you explain the process of job search and how students can make use of these career fairs to get the internships and jobs?
That's a great place to kind of test everything that you are doing in terms of your job search processes. So I think once you just come in September, it might be like everything is coming at you as a flood. So how you're trying to survive in the city that you're going to be in, how you're trying to thrive in your university setting. I think this is a good idea to look at career fair as like a mock interview. You might not have all the skill sets to get an internship, or you might not be able to get an internship till you finish 2 semesters. The rules kind of have changed depending on the university. Some universities allow day one CPT and stuff like that. Without getting into the weeds of immigration, once you are entering in the first semester, attend as many career fairs as possible from and have one goal, which is how do I have a decent conversation with the person who's at the career fair? That can be a great goal to have in the first semester. In the second semester, you definitely want to be ready and kind of go after internships and hope to land interviews. Whereas in the first semester, just understand the lay of the land. You might need a resume, follow people like me, and there are many others who help students create really good resumes. Create a resume. Advanced students or students who are willing to go above and beyond would create something like a pitch. I'll share more about that. And then you go in these career fairs. Don't be lazy. If there's something far away, go for that as well with a friend or two, and then just have conversations at these career fairs. Some people might say that, oh, we are not hiring any international students right now, or we are not sponsoring visas right now. You can just say, I totally understand that. Yet I want to be at a point where once I do have my visa thing situated, can go after amazing institutions like yours. So, is it okay if I ask you 2 or 3 specific questions about how your company hires talents out of universities? So, that's the approach I feel you should take. To summarize, in the first semester, have a resume. The advanced people might have a pitch, and then go and have as many productive chats as possible. You might get roadblocked saying that we are not hiring students. Plan for it and say, I totally understand. Once I get my visa situated, I would still love to work for a company like yours. Is it okay if I ask 2 to 3 specific questions as to how you hire folks out of university? And then be ready with a bunch of questions that you can ask this person. And that would be a great result for you in the first semester.
Excellent. I had to share my story here in terms of how I attended the first job fair. I had no clue. I had absolutely no clue. It was just like somebody said, "Hey, there's like a lot of career fair," and in fact, this was something that was said verbatim by my one of my friends. He said, "Like, let's go because you'll get free pizza, and let's go because you'll get like a lot of swag."
Yeah,
Definitely, a lot of companies will give you pens and T-shirts, and these days you have a lot of wonderful merchandise that is available.
yeah.
So, I mean, that was the fun thing. But I have to say that it's not as fun anymore because the competition has changed so much. For example, when
Mhm.
I went to the US, we would have, say, X number of people going. Now we have literally about 20x times of students going to the US every year. So the competition has
Mhm.
really risen. And
Mhm.
therefore, you need to be on your toes in order to get ready for it. So, Varun, like we are ready for your lovely exercise in which you're going to help us about how someone can pitch and create this network and conversations with the career fair people, and of course, impress them to get an internship or job later. So, the stage is all yours.
Great. So I did want to do this because I think this is a realization that I see my mentees have after like working 3 or 4 plus years in the US. And that is a surprising place to get this insight. I think you guys have self-selected yourself by being part of this call. So I want to give you guys a leg up by doing this exercise with you so you understand how the job market in the US works. Now, for this to be a successful exercise, I want you guys to be active in the chat. So the first question for everybody is anybody a fan of Shark Tank or entrepreneurship podcast? Are you guys fans of that? Say yes or no in the chat. Kritika sent has that question in the chat as well. So if you guys in the Zoom, you might find the chat in I think the three dots, and you might be able to get to the chat. So are you guys a fan of shows like Shark Tank, or are you guys fans of entrepreneurship? Siddharth says yes. Nice. You guys can just send a chat in the in basically the meeting group chat, but a direct message is okay as well. Prem says not a fan, just watch it. That's good enough. Arunima says yes. Khushi says yes. I'm somebody who's very comfortable with awkward silences, so I will wait for people to chime in before I move on. So all of you in here, even if you're not a fan of Shark Tank, that's all okay. Are you a fan of entrepreneurship? Do you like decoding businesses? Yes or no in the chat.
I guess a lot of people are probably have been very busy with your application so far. So not too much time for Shark Tank.
That's probably true. I do want to take 10 more seconds to see if I get more responses because this is a critical exercise and I want you guys to be involved in the process. So I see Prem says, yeah, nice. Cool. So for the people that are chiming in, let's take an exercise, right? Imagine you are a shark and I am coming in with my product, which is this simple pen. I don't know if this pen is popular anymore, but when I was a student in school, this pen was very popular. So it's kind of nostalgia for me. But let's say you are a shark or you are an entrepreneur, a venture capitalist. I am somebody who is trying to pitch this pen and a pen company and for you guys to invest in my product. In terms of marketing, what do you think I should do to market this pen? What would you like to see as a venture capitalist, as a big time entrepreneur? What would you like to see me do with this pen in terms of all the marketing that I should be doing? Let me know in the chat.
I think while it's coming, I would say most VCs would have said like, how soon can I reach $1 billion? Or when is your IPO? In olden days, like now entrepreneurship has changed.
Maybe I'll flip the switch. Imagine all of you guys are entrepreneurs and this is a pen that you've created. How would you market this pen? What are the different marketing channels you would use to use this pen? Now, once you are in the US, you are going to be put on spot quite a bit. You will have to shine by raising your hands and sharing your answers. So this is a good kind of a sandbox experiment for you guys as well, which is just give it a shot. What are the different marketing channels would you use to market this pen? Right? I got one response that says, I will present how the product is useful, whether it solves any problem or not. Awesome. Curious to hear more as to how you will do that. What kind of marketing channels would you use? Got another response saying ads on edtech platforms. Very interesting because education is where pens are mostly used. So you are not only doing ads, you are making sure you are doing ads on platforms where most of your customers hang. Very nice. I'm looking for more responses. I got another response saying pen is never going to be anything special. So focusing on the product will be the wrong way to go unless bundling it with something else. Maybe going the numbers route and maybe how to establish times amount of profit. Okay, So you are saying that maybe that product is not unique, but what you bring to the table with this product in terms of your skills could be the one which could be unique. Maybe you bundle this pen with some other product so that then you can sell both in conjunction. Very interesting. Looking for more responses. What are the different marketing channels would you use to sell this pen?
Had you told me about this pen before, I would have done it as a return gift for the Ambani function.
Well, for the Ambani function, it will have to be like diamond crusted and stuff like that. Cool. I think at this point, okay, I do see another response. Digital marketing at first with a vision laid out to commercials and billboards. Awesome. Another response, which is would give it to a YouTube influencer who usually do study with me and get millions of views. Great ideas, right? You guys talked about the different ways to market it, where you would market it, how you would bundle this product along with each other. This is excellent because the whole game, and I got another response saying, do a marketing camp, make this product aspirational, relate it with experience and luxury, add with a celebrity. Again, amazing marketing channels. Now, one revelation that I want you guys to take away from this whole session is that job search in the US is like entrepreneurship. You imagine you are the product, just like you did with this simple product. None of you said, I'm going to, on a piece of paper, write in black text all the things that this pen does. None of you said that because you guys know that's not the best way to sell a product. Now, what if you are the product and all the complexity is involved in the product like you? Think about all the skills you bring to the table and the amount of benefit you can add to a company. You cannot just rely on a piece of paper with black text on it, aka the resume, to sell yourself in the job market. So if you are only going to rely on resume, which shockingly I did, and which shockingly a lot of people do till very much, many years into their career, then you are not marketing yourself well. US is all about capitalism. Job search is all about capitalism. If nothing else, I want you guys to have this takeaway from this session. So, how can you market yourself in addition to the resume? Let's hear something. Yes, it's a complicated question, but this is brainstorming, no bad answers. How would you market yourself beyond a resume? So I got a great response here. Would consider having good projects and papers and relying on the resume as well. Great. Another answer, make a project portfolio. Perfect. Starting to think about more ideas to kind of showcase yourself. Anything else that you guys can think of? Another response, Kritika says project portfolio. That's the easiest and the best way to do it with the current experience that you have. Let's see. I'll wait a minute to see. Another great response. Make a video presentation. They are getting a lot more, I wouldn't say common, but a lot more interesting. I have my mentees record Loom videos while they are sharing their portfolio piece. So again, another way to add more context to this product that you are selling. Somebody said leveraging LinkedIn. That's great. People who write on LinkedIn and have a brand get headhunted by companies. I recently did a collaboration with somebody who has done for 50 public speaking events in the first 5 years of her experience in the US. just blew my mind. In the first 5 years, I was just enjoying my salary and taking vacations. So, what she did with her time in terms of marketing herself has been a game changer for her and landed her jobs in Morgan Stanley and now in Microsoft. So, another response I got, starting on designing an personal website to show portfolio and talk about yourself. That is great as well. One thing I will say, you don't need a website. LinkedIn can be your website. LinkedIn has ability to share articles, share slideshows, put them in the featured section. That's a great place because the recruiters and hiring managers are already there. Good to have a website, but not a need to have a website because you don't want them to click through more things. You just want to give them what they can right there and then. Another response, I think Kritika mentioned video PPT, papers, branding on LinkedIn. All of them are amazing. So I don't need to even tell you guys what you need to do, but this is a great way to market yourself. So when you are coming into your fall semester, yes, you have to figure out your living situation. Yes, you have to thrive in your uh, courses. And yes, you need to build a marketing kind of a channel, a marketing plan as to how you're going to pitch companies beyond just using your resume. One advanced thing that I'll share, maybe too much for right now, but you can always contact me once you are here, is to create something I call a pitch, which is imagine me investing in your pen company. You would create a pitch specifically to me. You will say, hey, Varun, you're working with so many students. I'm going to do some giveaways for the pen so you can see how the customers interact. On those lines, a pitch is a document that you can create specifically for that company saying, I have these skills. You need somebody like me. This is what I can do once I come into your organization. The first 30 days, the first 60 days, the first 90 days, like a 30, 60, 90-day plan is a great way to outshine during career fairs. Because one of my mentees said this to me is that whenever I had a pitch in my hand and I would share that pitch to people, specifically made to that company in the career fair using the company branding and kind of design and the themes that they use, everybody would stop, talk to him, understand what his perspective was, where he was coming from. And that is one of the best things that you can get in a career fair, is somebody investing their time in understanding you, because that's where the magic happens a little bit, which is okay, they feel that you are impressive and they call you for an interview, which is the only goal of the career fair outside of the swag, which is good to have. I've gone there for the swag as well. Beyond the swag, an amazing win is getting 1, 2, 3 interviews out of a career fair.
That was an amazing exercise. And just to summarize, it was a good exercise to understand more about how to elevate your marketing abilities and how to also look at the career fair as a way of connections and more of informations and everything else. And also, one other point that you probably reiterated was that the job search is not a one-time affair. It's going to be a continuing thing when you are in the US, especially in the US, and of course in other countries as well, not in your home country. Let me put it that way, because you're always going to be needing to be on some sort of visa, some sort of work permit, some sort of thing. Something can happen with your company, whatever it is. So this kind of ongoing branding, and as well as the ability to project yourself and your abilities, is something that you have to learn right from today. In fact, you can start practicing today. And of course, leveraging LinkedIn and other tools that Varun mentioned. Varun, you had also touched upon a little bit more about, like, how people can prepare for some specific resources you had mentioned. Can you give us a little bit more details on what specific resources can students take away from, and how they can be ready when it comes to the job search?
Resources as in what they can do beyond like your resume, your typical resume.
Yeah, like some portals and other things, networks and other things that can use beyond what their respective universities would be offering them as an international student.
Right. So a lot of the ideas that you guys shared already, I'll reiterate or at least maybe organize that information in this answer, which is your resume can do a good job at just sharing like some of your past experience. But if you can show rather than tell your experience, that's a great win. So how can you show your experience? One, you can create a portfolio that can be hosted on LinkedIn. Another thing you can do is create video presentations, like somebody said. Three, do a lot more projects, join a lot more clubs, specific clubs in your organization, so you are able to do more. Like, for example, I was part of my university's Formula SAE racing team. I was a powertrain captain, so I was able to use a lot of that during my job search. And then finally, creating a pitch. So a pitch is, imagine creating like a 3-page document that includes your resume and includes like a 30, 60, 90-day plan. You can research what 30, 60, 90-day plan looks like. You can leverage ChatGPT and Perplexity to create one for you as well. And then you focus that. Obviously, you have to use human intelligence to focus it and then talk to it for that specific organization. Use Canva for some specific branding elements, and then take that document with you during career fairs or share that document on with a networking connection, which is a whole another part of the job search, which is one is marketing. All of the things that we talked about here is all marketing, but entrepreneur needs relationships and sales as well. And that's where the whole networking, building relationships, and doing essentially build relationship sales. That's the separate part of the job search.
Yeah, and probably segueing into the related question for it, how important is the first fall semester? Because that's when people are going to get their career fairs and other things and all. And for some of them, it's going to happen like so many of them would have like a 1 year program, or I know in business schools you have internships already. For those internships, typically it happens between anytime between September to November, depending on what kind of industries you get into, like consulting, tech, finance, and others. So the question to you would be, how important is the fall semester, and how can people get ready from the job point of view?
I think any semester, all semesters are extremely important in the US. So this is a time of your life where things are heightened, the stakes are heightened. So I get sometimes questions like, oh, should I focus on my courses or should I focus on my job search? Sometimes in this world, the answer is yes and yes. It is not this or that, it is this and that. So, yes, focus on your courses. Make sure that you are trying to develop projects that are worth a portfolio, because you would need this portfolio to do something, which is the job search. You need things to talk about. A lot of people just don't have enough stuff to put on their resume. If you have past experience in our home country, which is India, that's great. You can use that, you can leverage that. You also need more US specific resources, US specific projects, and the fall semester can be a great place to choose your courses wisely, connect with other professors. Even though you may not have taken their course, you can always say that I'm looking forward to taking your course in the winter semester or the next fall, whatever the case is. Build relationships, join clubs. This is a time to kind of do a lot. There's no two ways about it. The people who work hard and work smart, you will see the difference between them in the first semester versus people who either just try to work smart or try to work hard or are just there for the ride. You will notice a significant difference.
Yeah, and this reminded me of what happened in my second career fair actually. So the first career fair was just swag collecting and then going and following, and it was really weird. I did get an interview, and in the interview, I'm like, I'm not really going for this internship was the thing. And, it was really surprising that they selected the person even though they thought that it wasn't there. And that's where I think the power of the papers and the competitions that you've done and everything else that you've done in the past comes in.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that, yeah, to add to Varun's point, do not underestimate the power of your academics in the first fall semester. You have to prove that you are a worthy candidate, and the currency that sells is going to be GPA and everything else in the first semester, especially that can also give you an ability to get into research assistantships, teaching assistantships. If you get a full 4.0, and even if you're getting like really high scores in, say, a couple subjects, you can approach those professors easily and then, approach them as well, like, for a research assistantship or teaching assistantship later. So that is something that you will also want to focus. But as Varun said, it is going to be a balancing act, which already the application process taught you anyway. So you are anyway balancing your college and you were balancing the application process and so on. It's now just going to change. Your college is going to become grad school, and your application process is now going to become your job search process or your internship search process. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the students, but and questions. Before that, Varun, do you think anything else that students should be thinking, especially about the visa situation, the OPT, the CPT, and all those fancy terms?
By the way, great, great analogy, and comparing it with where students are right now, already navigating their final semesters and the US application process. I think that's a great analogy, Kritika, to take here, which is your college becomes your university, and then the application process becomes the job search process. So that's perfect. I would say that there is a value also in your steps. What I mean by that is when I was trying to seek internships, my friend and I went to a career fair which was far away. And in Michigan, I know you know pretty well, which is there's not a lot of public transport. So we had to kind of convince a senior to take us in his car to this career fair in downtown Detroit. And none of my peers came to that career fair except for my roommate. I was actually not planning to go myself. I will not give myself that credit. He was going and he was like, dude, let's just go. And I just somehow went with him. And in that career fair, both of us landed interviews, and I landed an internship out of that whole experience. So there is a value in steps. There is a value in taking action beyond what the normal is, which is normal is okay, there's a career fair in your university or a university close to you. You go there and you try your luck. Now everything you can do is heightened, and now if there's a career fair a bit far away, but if you can make it, the more chances you have at this, the better your odds. Coming to your question about visas, I would say that once your semester ends, which I think most of you, your semester has ended, your visa is done, you're just waiting to take your flights, right? So you have the time right now to understand three things. You need to understand CPT, need to understand pre-OPT, and you need to understand OPT. Actually, OPT also has STEM OPT. So I'll say the three things can be CPT, OPT, and STEM OPT. Why you need to understand this completely is because you need to have that ammunition where if somebody questions your sponsorship needs, you need to be confidently delivering this particular script, which is, I don't need sponsorship for the next 29 months. In that time, I'm confident that I can deliver results for your team where sponsorship down the line becomes a no-brainer. Then if they ask you questions about CPT or ask you questions about, oh, you are studying right now, how can you work? You need to be armed with knowledge. Knowledge is one of the currencies, like Kritika mentioned, GPA being the currency. Uh, Knowledge about immigration is the currency. So how can you find that information? the best resource that I will ask you guys to go for is a book called Unshackled by one of my friends, Saundarya Balasubramani. She wrote this book with a immigration lawyer, Samir Khedekar. That book is called Unshackled. And if nothing else, and you don't need to read the whole book, but make sure you completely read the chapters about CPT, OPT, and STEM OPT. It is one of the best book. It has stories. It will give you a perspective of what you need to do to kind of go forward with it. I highly, highly recommend that book for everybody. Ratto it. Like there is a I'll do a small diversion here, which is my sister is a medical student. She's a doctor now, and she's studying for NEET and AIMS and stuff like that, all those difficult, crazy exams. And in there, she's doing a class right now called BTR. It's literally called BTR because the full form of that is Buri Tara Rato. There is a portion, there is some portion which is so crucial that they just need to know that portion in the for in like 18 subjects.
Oh
So
my
I
God.
would say the CPT, OPT, and STEM OPT, and knowing everything about it can be your BTR. Just buri tarah ratto everything about it so that you are armed with all the knowledge that you need to get into this whole immigration, which you will need to know while navigating the job search in the first 4 years.
Mhm. Yeah. So I definitely like agree with it and smiling all this way, because yeah, that is true. But this is where you can be blessed with good international services. I know that there was this international service person who was my, hey Kritika, you here, is what she will say every time because I would do something. Probably I should record this. Like I have done a lot of internships and CPTs and pre-OPTs, multiple times and getting into a full-time OPT and so on and so forth. So yeah, I have like I say people that I tell people that I have like 20 I-20s and that's not true. That's not like false. I still hang on to them and how important it was. I still realize when I was going to present the project on behalf of my entire team at Michigan to Sweden, it was important to carry all these documents and one I-20 was missing. So it was like I had to do a rush hour job. And that's how the International Student Services Advisor became my very close friend, by chasing her and getting her signature and so on. So you are going to get a lot of resources. It is not like we are trying to spook you into telling you this is not there, that is not there, but we are trying to educate you about what all is available for you out there and make sure that you need to know how and what you're getting into and how to get out of it as well. And all the other possibilities that exist, right? You're going there because you want to get the knowledge plus other monetary benefits and other benefits that you really want to enjoy. You have to be very aware of how to get that, and that's the whole purpose. But there are going to be an army of people supporting you, and everybody is going to be in the same boat, so don't be so worried. And of course you can always reach out to Varun for additional advice when we go. So with that, Varun, we're going to open it up to all the questions that we have for you.
That's a great perspective to add, Kritika. There is an international office that is helpful. You might need to be proactive in asking for help from them. They will do an orientation and give you all this information. But if you are proactive and keep asking them questions, then they will respond. Having said that, uh, yeah, if you can arm yourself with more knowledge, that's always going to give you a heads up.
Yeah, and the first thing you will do is to actually go and find
Okay.
out where your international student officers are. I still remember those three people who assisted me over my period of time. Was one person was actually a circus performer all over the world,
Wow.
and before he became an international student services officer, and then the other person used to meet me for fencing. And then
Oh,
she came with
wow.
a partner to ballroom dancing, right? And then
Nice.
you guys won't believe it. Before I left Michigan, I had this opportunity to take her out for coffee and thank her, because I
Very
always
cool.
tell her that, hey, thanks so much for signing. And because the International Student Services Advisor is the first person who approves your whole application and allows for you to come. So she's an important person, or he is going to be an important person for you. And that is like your 101 for building relationships. So let's see what questions we've got, because we do have other questions that I can ask you if they're still coming.
One great thing is that they have you as a resource as well. You've gone through this whole gamut of things that we go through. I'm a proud owner of 12 I-20s myself, having gone through the CPT, OPT, STEM OPT process. In fact, I was so naive in the beginning, in the first semester, that I went for a competition to Toronto from Michigan, and I didn't even take my I-20. I thought all I needed was my passport to come back. And both my roommate and I, we didn't do that. So we were stuck at the border. And this is how interesting this is, right? The border officer, maybe the one that I got, had pity on me. So he printed out my I-20 right at like the border, and he allowed me to pass. Whereas my roommate, his officer was not as as chilled, and he made him like send his passport to Washington DC, and Washington DC had to prove that yes, this person is a student. They had to get an I-20. Oh, it was such a mess. So
Oh no,
yeah,
yeah.
you need
Yeah,
to
the
kind of know.
I-20 is more important than even the visa, like, after a point of
Yeah.
time, because the visa just tells you that you can be in the country, but the I-20 is the one which kind of tells everybody that you have the right to be there. So we have a question for you, Varun. So it says, so just to confirm, you're telling me to go to a career fair within the first couple months after landing, right? Yes. Yeah. As
Yes.
soon as we can get on your own feet. See, the thing is, career fairs typically happen in fall, as soon as the fall semester opens. So it'll be in first week or second week or even the last week of September, depends on where you are in the country, because these same companies travel to multiple different locations. University of Michigan Ann Arbor campus will have it early, as soon as school opens. How was it for you, Varun? Did you guys have?
We didn't have any in the first semester, but we
Mhm.
started to get a lot of them in the winter. Now that could just be a product of me not knowing them, but I was very proactive while I was there, because I think, like the question, I just went there after my undergraduate. So I knew that I had to do more because I didn't have anything behind me. I had no work experience. I needed to be a hustle a bit, scramble a bit to kind of get my ducks in the order. So yes, go for the career fair. Any career fair shows up, just go for them. The more practice you have, the better it is. Now, Kritika mentioned that some of the MBA students will need an internships pretty soon. I knew in my 2-year graduate program, I could only do an internship starting summer, the first summer semester, so after 2 semesters. So I had that kind of a cushion of another semester in the winter to search for my first internship. So I think that raises a good point, Kritika, that you need to be aware of like different degrees and the different when the companies come in and when you need to be ready for these career fairs. So yeah, just go for them. If nothing else, for the swag in, we can allow you to go for the swag for the first one and then start to optimize things like the pitch, the portfolio and stuff like that for the next few ones.
Right, yeah, I definitely agree. And one more, I think you answered the part two. They said that they're coming into the masters without having prior work experience. So is that something that you can take up? Yeah.
I think having experience in India always helps. It's not necessary or it's not compulsory, because as it is in the US, your Indian experience, unless it's in a very name brand company, is not look it is discounted no matter what. I mean, Kritika, you can chime in with your opinion, but I have had the pleasure of being part of hiring teams and hiring people, and I know how others perceive that part of the experiences. Unless it's in a very big name brand in that particular industry, it is discounted. So what can you do is, if you don't have experience, then you build experience using projects, using taking part in the clubs, doing everything you can do to show that you have the skills that you are saying on your resume. If you have experience and you don't want that experience to be discounted, the plan remains the same actually, which is you need to show that you have the experience that you're talking about in your resume that you had in India. So if you've done projects, you need to show using like a one-page report, maybe using some diagrams, being a little bit more multimedia to show that you know what you're talking about. So in both cases, there is a way to kind of land an opportunity right away.
Yeah, and there's more questions about internship in the summer, about like what would you suggest for freshers from undergraduate without any employment history to apply confidently to um, these kind of applications where there are other people also like with a lot of work experience to go to.
This reminds me of my vivas back home, right? This question, which is there used to be some friends of mine who were so confident in like delivering presentations or in the vivas that they sometimes overcame for their lack of knowledge. And here I was wondering what were they doing? I mean, how are they landing these opportunities? And once you start to see the qualities that they have, which is sometimes you have to instill or bring fake confidence before you are confident. Sometimes you have to be a great communicator or a better communicator than your peers to kind of get all these additional benefits of doing well in these public speaking or speaking places. So if you are technically minded or you are somebody which has strong academic skills, develop communication skills, develop the skills to have more confidence because that will be required in the US job search. So that's one aspect to it. And the other aspect is you need evidence. So if you are not somebody who has work experience in India, you will need to build evidence in form of projects, in form of the clubs that you take part of. If you have already experience in India, you will need to show that evidence by sharing the same thing, building multimedia projects and stuff like that.
Excellent. So Varun, would you care to share a fun story that can give some more tips before we let you go?
So I already mentioned some of the big stories that were impactful, right? Which was going to that career fair, which was further off than my peers were willing to go to. And then doing additional, like being part of my Formula SAE team, which is a racing team, me being there for automotive engineering was a perfect match. I was able to take parts from the car in interviews and stuff like that, which always brought in a lot of great discussion. So I've shared already those things. Is there another story that I can share? Now, this story is maybe more down the line in my experience, but it can definitely apply to you. Is that as I went ahead in my career, I was more entrepreneurial. So I wanted to work for small companies. And in these small companies, I was able to take on more of the marketing roles, the sales roles. And what I noticed is that as I was doing that, I realized, wow, this is a lot like job search, which is here I was selling my company and the work that we do. And the job search is where you are selling yourself as a product, as somebody who can help the company do X. So think of your job search and career as an entrepreneur. You are the product and you are also the CEO of that company which has that product. As long as you focus on that as developing marketing materials, developing sales strategies for this product, which is you, then you will be extremely successful, which I am seeing some of these people coming in and in the first 5 years, like really doing a lot, getting talent visas and stuff like that, just by looking at their career from a CEO's perspective, knowing that they are the product and then branding themselves on public platforms, building relationships with stakeholders at these different companies. So if you have that kind of overall overarching effect that I had as an entrepreneur in my business, but then I could see that parallel as an entrepreneur in our job search journey as well. I think that will be great. I will share a fun thing though, Kritika. One thing I know you said fun. I could not answer it. One fun thing is you will learn a lot about India then once you are outside of India. Now, I was rooming with people from different parts of Maharashtra. I had a roommate who was from Chennai, and one day he was making dosas in the kitchen, and I just entered. Now, this is 2010, so keep that in mind. I entered the kitchen and I said, "Hey Ajay, you're making dosas. Can you just make two for me as well?" And Ajay, my roommate, looked at me just shell shocked. And I was like, "Dude, what's wrong with you? You have your," I mean, he was just looking at me. It's like, "What's wrong with you?" Because we used to cook food for each other. So it wasn't that. So I'm like, "Everything okay?" He's like, "You know what is dosa?" I was like, "Dude, we have dosas in Mumbai. You want paneer dosa, you want pav bhaji dosa, you want Shezwan dosa, come to Mumbai. We'll show you all these amazing things that we have." So interestingly, you will know a lot more about India and the different people from different parts of India, cultures from different parts of India, more than maybe if you are probably from a cosmopolitan city where people are more of the city than of their motherland, or at least where their family comes from.
Excellent. So we do have a couple more questions, and I think I'm going to take one before I let you go, Varun.
I
Does
have 5-10 more minutes to spend. I'm happy to
Okay.
answer questions
Oh,
if you
thanks.
guys have time as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's so nice of you. So it says, does the program duration, 1 year or 2 year, affect the time available for job search? What duration is preferable?
I'll let you chime in as well, Kritika, but I feel 2 years is a good program duration to have as compared to a 1 year, just because sometimes you need more time to find a job.
Yeah.
There is a big luck element in this job search process. So you can increase your surface area of luck by doing all the things that I shared today, right? The marketing side, the sales side, which we didn't touch to a big we didn't touch as much, but which is extremely important as well. Um, that is how you can increase the surface area of luck. But then in the job search, there are so many decisions that are outside your locus of control that sometimes you just need time to do the right things again and again and again for that opportunity to strike. So, in my opinion, a 2 year program is better than a 1 year. Because then in the 1 year, you are dependent on luck a lot more than the 2 year degree.
Yeah, but I would also say it really depends on what you want out of the master's experience. And to be very honest, if you're on a STEM OPT, it doesn't matter as much because you still have that much time of 3 years that you have. But it'll also depend on how much are you willing to spend. In some cases, some of you are working, it will be an opportunity cost. Sometimes the 2 year program is obviously going to be much more expensive than the 1 year program, but I know 1 year programs which are more expensive than the 2 year programs. So you cannot comment on that aspect. It really is about what are you optimizing it against. So you have time and you also have the job search and you also have your own skill set. So ultimately, I would say it depends on all those factors. And there's no one answer to saying that 1 year is better or 2 years better because there are 1 year programs which are much, much better by design. Example, an MIM program will have only 10 months and it's actually less than this one, but it's by design. But it can get you into $120,000 salaried, into a investment banking or management consulting and so on. So it really depends on your needs, skill set, as well as what are you training off.
I think the 1 year would push you to be a lot more proactive. Am I right in assuming that, Kritika?
Absolutely. You have to, 1 year is going to be super proactive and super focused. You don't
Yeah.
get to do anything else other than just study and network and get a job. That's it. But 2 years will be like, yeah, you can smell the roses and
Yeah.
also probably take the break in the summer and go visit the Upper Peninsula, right? or
Beautiful.
in other places, right? But definitely you guys should see some of the places in the US and like Utah and other places. And there's a couple more questions here. One of it is like, is writing cold emails to people that I'm interested in doing an internship, does it actually work?
It's better than cold online applications,
Hmm.
but there are better things to do than cold emails.
It is cold.
Yeah, it is cold. At the end, it is cold. What are the better things to do as compared to cold emails? Well, as a student, you have the benefit of going to career fairs. That's better, in my opinion. Another great thing about being a student is that you can build relationships with your professors, with seniors sometimes who are part of the same clubs, and seniors who are in organizations already. So, using those warm filters, like being part of your school, being part of a particular club, allows you to build more relationships. And having a referral in the job, and even beyond that, having an advocate in the workplace are much, much, much better ways to finding a job than cold emailing.
Hmm. I love that answer. It it covered every element. And here's another thing about I think this would be our last question to you in terms of apart from career fairs and the handshake portal that universities use for jobs, how effective is LinkedIn and Indeed for landing jobs?
As a job portal, they are good as well. LinkedIn has a both job portals are good. LinkedIn has the added benefit of being a social platform as well. So even if you don't create posts, if you comment on people who are writing for your industry, or if you comment on people who are creating from a company, like, or they work at a company that you really like. So, creators from the companies that you really like, if you comment on their posts, it is a great way to build a relationship and become a known face for them before they kind of do things together or collaborate or chat or stuff like that. So the analogy here is, imagine this whole networking approach as a relationship account. You need to make deposits in that account before you make a withdrawal. So you can't make a withdrawal from a zero balance account. You can't make a withdrawal, meaning you can't ask for their time. You can't say, oh, can you refer me, when you have no balance with them. It's just going to be ignored. So how do you increase your balance is by adding more, making more deposits. So if they are a creator, you can like and comment on their posts. You can share their posts with your fellow friends and let them know. There are many ways to do this privately as well. You can share articles with your insights that might be helpful for them. Basically, LinkedIn allows you to make deposits in any relationship so that you have some balance when the time is for you to take a withdrawal, which is to ask for their time or ask for their referral. So that is the advantage of LinkedIn as compared to Indeed, because now there is this whole relationship thing that opens up as well.
Yeah, that's such a lovely analogy, right? It's about how you have to give
It's
before
not
you take.
mine. It's not mine. I won't take credit
Okay.
for it. But yeah, it works very well.
Yeah, like how you give before you take anything in life, right? Awesome.
Absolutely.
So, Varun, it was wonderful to have this lovely conversation with you today and how you took us to what's happening and how things are and how you are going to be a support for people to help later on if they need to reach out. Would you want to leave any LinkedIn contact or details? We can always pass on your LinkedIn profile to our participants, of course. Is there anything else you want us to share with them?
I think I definitely want to hear everybody's insight. Whoever is hanging on so far, I would love to get your biggest insight from this session. If you can put that in chat, that would be great. I would say the Unshackled book that I said would be a great resource for everybody.
Yeah,
I have
Soundarya is
given away copies of that book. I've done a giveaway on LinkedIn. I think it is one of the best resource that you can buy. It's the $25 that is you can get 100x to 200x of the value from that investment. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. If you are sending a connection request, please add a note saying you were part of this session with Kritika and me, so that the person that who helps me with managing my connection request is able to bring you in immediately. So you can say, hey, I'm so and so, I'm coming to the US to study. I was part of Varun's and Kritika's session this morning. So if you can write that note, that will be very easy for you to become part of my network, and you can follow my posts. I write almost every day on the platform, every weekday. And that would be, I mean, in terms of how to kind of continue this forward. At the same time, I would love to hear everybody's top insight and top takeaway, one insight or one takeaway from the session. That way, I can just validate whether what I was hoping you guys to take away from this session and what Kritika was hoping you guys take away from the session was aligned with what you guys are actually taking away.
this feels like being back in the classroom.
Yeah,
This is something that you would see in grad school all the time. Uh, you will be called upon, as Varun was mentioning already, but they will always ask you to tell what's happened and what did you take away from this, or what's your insight on it, or what's your take on this, and so on.
you have to be ready. You have to be an active participant. That's one of the big uh, things in the US.
Mhm. All right, as people are typing away, I think for me, the biggest takeaway was how the analogies, the different analogies that you shared was very interesting for me to remember, and especially how, I was looking at it again as a perspective of somebody who might not know the system, because sometimes we know the system so much that we are we oh yeah, this thing is like this and that thing is like this. Oh, didn't I tell you that this was always black or that's always white? You think about it in that manner. So for me, it just kind of helped me go back to that beginner's state and get a perspective again from that state. So that was really helpful.
And I could notice that in you, Kritika, you had amazing insights from the perspective of somebody just coming to the US. Whereas I've been trained right now to kind of teach people who are already here and how to maximize your time here. So I think you, if I didn't mention that, you are an amazing resource for them to kind of continue to ask questions. And
But sometimes I'm Gar ki murgi dal barabar. So people know that I'm
uh,
always here. So they would always like other instances and other like definitely to hear from other people, right?
Absolutely. And that's the good thing about the internet right now, is that you can hear many different perspectives and choose the one that gives you results. And I wouldn't discount you as a amazing resource as well, because you are seeing a lot more students. You know a lot more students who might have recently graduated and are working in the industry. So when I ask all of you guys that you have warm filters when you are studying, one of the warm filters can be Kritika, and you can say, "Hey, Kritika, do you know anybody who works at this organization or who works in this field?" And since you already are working with her, can be a great place for her to kind of say, oh yeah, I have somebody I know.
Yeah, so we do this in our leveraging LinkedIn workshop where people
Cool.
are able to connect and then and, you also have this feature in LinkedIn which people say like, can you introduce me to such and such
Yeah,
persons? So yeah, we do encourage that. One of the participants, Karan, says it painted a picture on what I needed to do after landing, is what he said, what his biggest insight from the.
nice. Awesome. Would love to hear other insights and final takeaways. I know we have a small group remaining in the meeting, but I would love to hear one or two other insights. All right, maybe the insight should be that you have to be more proactive in sessions. So that's all good. It was great. It was great chatting with you guys. Kritika, if you have any questions for me or anything going forward, um, I do definitely want. I mean, I know we are still in the meeting, but let's set
Let's
some time
connect.
together and chat just our journeys and how what you're doing going forward in India. That's
Yeah, we
really
had to
cool.
talk about knees.
Oh, yeah. I'm a fan of Nihis. So I remember going to Nihis when it was inside a uh, grocery store. Like it
Yeah,
was inside a grocery store. I don't, when did you come? When did you come to the
yeah. I was
Michigan?
in 2006 to 11.
Oh, you came before me. So I'm
Yeah.
sure you've seen Nihis before it was even there. So um, that's pretty cool. Let's set some time together, just you and I, and we can chat.
Sure. Awesome, everybody. Thanks so much, Varun, again. And this was our way of helping you think about what happens after you land there. You still have to take off, and there's a lot more things coming. But now that you're equipped with this information, we hope that you're better prepared for it and can also help you to decide on your right schools and decide on your admits and think about all the possibilities that exist so that you can live to your limitless potential. With that, thanks, everybody, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye. Khushi, I read your comment. Great job. Bye.